first question here from our guy, Tyler Bradley. What is your favorite free agency move for fantasy football so far? How are you feeling, Steve? What's your favorite move or your favorite player that was impacted by a move potentially?
I like Joe Mixon going to Houston. I think that offensive line is strong. I think with CJ Stroud under center, I think he's much more apt to dump the ball off to running backs. We saw Devin Singletary get a lot more catches than Joe. I don't think Joe Mixon was ever used in the role he should have been. I love him going to Houston for this. He stays in a bell cow role. I think that's really strong. Dameon Pierce obviously is not the guy that we all thought he could be.
Yeah.
So I'm huge on Joe Mixon going to Houston.
Joe Mixon to Houston. I like that call a lot. He gets a fresh 3-year deal, I believe, if I'm correct on that as well. So, they're investing him. They like him. We thought maybe it could be Aaron Jones or Saquon there. It is Joe Mixon. What's your favorite free agency move for fantasy football?
The Joe Mixon one was really good. Honestly, that's probably my favorite one. Okay. But if we're going to be original, we take it away from Steve. There's two that are really coming to mind. I got the entire offseason that we've seen from the Titans. I know we just talked about it earlier. Steve's not a fan, but like just for Will Levis alone, like what he could be if he does produce this year, could be a top 12 quarterback with all those weapons. If they all produce and everything meshes really well with Brian Callahan, like we could be looking at a franchise weapon. Like they obviously got rid of Mike Vrabel, who in my opinion is a good coach. And the NFL is just moving on to a different style, and that's why they're bringing Brian Callahan, who's more offensive minded, to be with Will Levis. So if Will Levis is what the Titans organization believes that he can be, the sky's the limit. So I really like that one, and I really like Alexander Mattison for Zamir White because, boom, there's no way that Alexander Mattison is going to be taking away anything from Zamir White. White, like just getting jacked up. And we don't really know who the quarterback is, but we saw what Gardner Minshew can do, and we know that Gardner Minshew can produce some awesome fantasy running backs this year with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. So I'm all about it. If Gardner Minshew starts, if Aiden O'Connell starts, we've seen it with Josh Jacobs and Aiden O'Connell. Mm-hmm. I'm here for it. So Zamir White to the moon because Alexander Mattison.
I touched on Gus Edwards earlier. I like Gus Edwards quite a bit out there in Los Angeles. Also, I think a sneaky winner is George Pickens. Not only does he get an upgrade at quarterback from Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky to bottom line, I don't think Russ is any good either. But bottom line, I think he's better than what he had before. And also, if Justin Fields comes in, Justin Fields can make him at least better than he was. And losing Deontay Johnson solidifies George Pickens will be the number one option here, despite Arthur Smith, doing some crazy shit with Drake London. I think he realizes, look, George Pickens the only guy on this team. The wide receiver too is Van Jefferson. Behind him, it's Calvin Austin III and Miles Boykin. Like that's where we are right now in Pittsburgh. George Pickens to me will be a very safe 5th or 6th round pick, and I'm willing to pay that price for him now while I wasn't beforehand. So I like George Pickens. He's one of my sneaky fantasy football winners